Welcome to the Pitch Perfect podcast, everyone. I am one of your hosts, Elaine, and I am joined by your other host, Melody, obviously. Say hi, Melody.
Hold up.
And this week on the Pitch Perfect pod, we are also joined by two amazing women in the flesh and blood community. Say hello to Brynn and Adrienne. Woo-hoo.
Hello.
Kia ora, I'm Adrienne.
We're going to be talking with Brynn and Adrienne today about being a woman in the competitive TCG space. It, I'm really excited about that. So let's get into it. Brynn, I'll go ahead and tell a story of how we met. I met Brynn in New York at a ProQuest. I was like in town visiting my sister who goes to college there and just was bored and alone, and I Googled ProQuest around me, and I walked to a shop and was greeted by the wonderful, kind, welcoming face of Brynn, and we were like, oh, we know each other from Twitter, which is really crazy because this was only like a month, if that, after I had started like playing and being on Twitter.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, right. We were both like new to the game, but had like already seen each other around Twitter. So that was awesome. That's how Brynn and I met, and we have just stayed in contact since on Twitter ever since.
Yeah, I thought it was funny because did you have a deck box at that point, or were you just carrying your Kasai deck in your purse?
I was, I was carrying my Kasai deck in my purse. It's like the
I
guy.
thought that was kind of baller. Like, I was like, damn,
Elaine.
you came fucking prepared.
What?
I at any moment, I'm ready.
I like showed up late and it had already started, and you guys managed to like squeeze me in there at the start of the second round because someone had like
Yeah.
registered and not shown up. So they were like, all right, they missed the first round. We're going to drop them and add you. And I was like, I think my equipment was in my pocket, and like then the actual deck was in my purse. And I was like, I'm ready. Anyway, that was a good time. Very fun.
That was great. I loved it. And then you did pretty good, right?
I think yeah, I dropped early. I like it came in late and then had to drop early to go meet my sister for lunch. I
But you
think
still won like 2 games. Yeah.
I would say I think I played 4 games, won 2 of them. I lost like my Kasai mirror and lost against Kano. Kano, rough matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tough matchup for Kasai.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Melody, how do you know Adrienne?
So I went on a bit of a mission hunting down female players in New Zealand, and I put up posts in like New Zealand Facebook pages, and I knew of Adrienne. I've heard of you, Adrienne, because Adrienne's also friends with Kiki. Kiki speaks very highly of you, Adrienne, and so on my hunting mission, located Adrienne, and then one of our local players created a chat, and then we added all the women into it, and Adrienne added her in there. And I actually met Adrienne for the first time at Road to Nats on the weekend. We were talking about it last night. Didn't really get to talk to her because she was constantly playing, and then she was in top 8. So, I didn't get top 8, so I tapped out a little bit early. But that's kind of us, right, Adrienne?
I'm not sure if you remember, but we met super
Oh, we
briefly.
did.
Yeah, yeah. I think you were just
Yes.
coming up from Wellington, and I had driven an hour and 20 minutes to get to my most local armory while I was living very rurally. And then I just noticed that there was another girl there. So I remembered you. And you said you were friends with Kiki, so that's awesome.
Yes, I totally forgot that. Okay, let's just rewind. Yes, because I hadn't started playing then, and I was collecting, and I bought some cards from Evan, one of the guys there, and I was like, oh my God, there's a female there. And Kiki had told me about you, and I was like, I wonder if she's going to be there. And you were there. But you were only because you were off to skirmish, right, in Hamilton?
Yes, that's right. Yes,
Mm,
my way, because I was dropping some cards off.
yes.
Evan,
Trades.
yeah.
All right, so those were some quick introductions of how we all knew each other.
Silence.
But Before we get started with our conversation today, we do have a quick announcement on the Pitch Perfect Pod. We are very excited to announce that we have partnered with Paper Collective to raise some money for charity. So there is a gorgeous playmat coming out soon called the Strong Women of Volcor, and a percentage of the sales for that mat will go towards the Global Fund for Women, which is an amazing international charity that provides funding for feminist groups around the world. So we're really excited to do that. Keep an eye out on Twitter and in the Pitch Perfect Discord for more details, because that should be out this week or beginning of next
Yeah, it
week.
should be this week. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. So first of all,
Sounds exciting.
yeah, no, I'm really excited about it. Brendan reached out to us about it, and I was like, yes, immediately we would love to partner with you guys. And the playmat's
And the
really
mat's
cool.
really cool.
I'm buying
It's
one. It's
very
awesome.
cool.
Yeah, what is it? Is there a hint?
Yes, it's got some some of our favorite female heroes on it. I will.
No.
Yes.
Oh,
And in the
I-
paper style.
Yeah.
So, it's
that
like
classic.
chibi. Yeah, it's
Oh,
very
it's cute.
cute.
That's cute.
Yes.
All right. So now that we went over how we actually know you guys, how long have y'all been playing Flesh and Blood, and what drew you into the game? We can start with Brynn if you want to go ahead.
Oh, okay. So I've told the story a couple of times, but what happened was I was bored in the quarantine, and I found this live stream on TikTok of people opening Pokemon cards.
Okay.
And I've never been interested in Pokemon, or I've never played Pokemon, the game or the card game. But I do remember opening packs of basketball cards as a kid. I used to collect those. And I thought that that was really fun. And I was like, oh, it'd be cool if there was a card game that I like. And so I went and looked on, I just basically Googled like best trading card games, and I saw Flesh and Blood, and on like the TCG player list, and I was like, wow, this looks very fun. The art looked really good, and then when I sort of like looked at the mechanics, I was like, this is like Dark Souls, but as a card game, like Dark Souls PvP.
Uh huh.
So I was like, and I love Dark Souls, so I just decided to buy a Blitz deck and try it out. My boyfriend played Magic when he was in high school, so I was like, I'm sure he can help me figure it out. And so I got him into it, and now we play all the time.
Very cool. That's kind of,
Awesome.
yeah.
I never played a card game before except for Hearthstone, and even Hearthstone I played like for a month. I just tried it out. I've never been into a card game before. This is the first one.
That's like
I don't know.
it's so like it's so addicting. Cause I had never really been into TCGs either. I'd like played Magic here and there, which people know that by now. But yeah, the Flesh and Blood was like the first TCG that I got into that I was like, this is the game for me. I love this game. Um, but Adrienne,
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that, and I've noticed a lot of people that have never played TCGs at all, for whatever reason, pick it up, play it, and then are hooked.
yeah,
Like there's a lot of people like that.
Yeah, there's
No
something
TCGs at all.
there's something really specific that I don't think I've really I mean, I played a lot of poker
Okay.
Oh
in
yeah.
the early 2010s. Like I was playing like probably 3 times a week at like tournaments. So I've like played cards before, but that was poker. So this is the first TCG, but there's something similar to the head to head, like back and forth when you go heads up in poker, but it's like all that, and more, and all the strategy of the rest of the game. So it's really great to me. It feels really honed in.
Yeah, I've never thought about it like that, but that might be kind of the same for me. My dad was a blackjack dealer in the casinos, so like
Really?
I've played a lot of card games, and he made sure I knew how to play a lot of card games, but like never TCGs. So maybe this is the first TCG I can relate to because of it's kind of similar in that sense, like
Yeah,
you just said.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The numbers kind of feel the same. I don't
Yeah.
know if that makes sense, but it like Magic. I mean, I can't really talk about Magic because I still haven't even played it once in real life. I've looked it up on Arena now, but that was only after Flesh and Blood. But the numbers for Flesh and Blood feel very crunchy in the way like poker does to me.
I could definitely see where you're coming from. All right,
Mm.
Adrienne, how long have you been playing Flesh and Blood, and tell us about your origin story into this?
Okay. It's been about a year now. My second ever game that I ever played was at the Auckland Calling. It was a sealed calling. One up.
Second game.
Wow.
I,
Yeah.
oh my
Um, I went because my friend's brother Sean Yang, his friend couldn't go, and the prize pack I think was a nourishing emptiness mat and some other like expensive stuff. So he wanted somebody to go in his place to play, but also get mainly just to get the free stuff. Um, got the playmat after he played I think 3 games. So I learned how to play Ira and played one game, and then went to this calling. It was sealed, and I'd never seen like this trading card game before, apart from like the day before. And I didn't
Wow.
know how to really make a deck. So Sean was just like, "Oh, just play Prism, and then just put all the
Your
light
second game and you're on Prism. No.
put all the light illusionist cards in your deck." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that sounds easy enough." But you also have to register the pool first, and like
Oh no.
you didn't know how to sort these cards out or like what they did. So I took like twice as long as everybody else, and I think it was one of the judges. I think it was Newson actually had to help me sort it because I couldn't even do that. And then when it came to make my deck, I didn't have that much time, so I just like literally just chucked a bunch um, of light illusionist cards in and like light cards and stuff. Went to play my first match, and then pull out a card. My opponent is just like, "You're on Prism, right?"
Oh no.
god. Oh no.
Oh no.
Like, "Oh, you can't play warrior cards in Prism."
Who helped you with this
I
deck, for goodness sake?
I don't even. Sorry, because I thought like light warrior cards counted as like light.
Oh.
Oh, didn't. But my opponent was really nice, and then
Oh.
judge came along and like helped me replace all my light warrior cards with cracked baubles.
Oh my
Nice.
Oh.
gosh.
Oh. How many of those how many cracked baubles did you have?
Oh, I can't even remember now. At least three for sure.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's okay. I wasn't expecting to win any games, and I didn't.
Uh,
That's
And so
honestly like
why
a
did you even
nightmare.
stick around? Like, what an introduction.
Um, I stuck around there because I was like, I gotta get this whatever $200 playmat for Sean's friend. I stuck around the game because everybody was like so lovely, like so nice.
Oh.
It was a
Mm.
really good event, and um, I was like the noob who turned up not knowing how to play. Yet people were still so lovely to me, and like didn't make me feel bad at all um, for my mistakes, which is good. They were easy wins for them anyway, I suppose. So kind of a win-win. But yeah, I went to an armory the following week, um, and
With a prism deck or an Ira deck? With an actual prism deck?
a Prism Bolton hybrid. No, I just
Classic.
what did I play in the end? Oh yes, I borrowed my friend's Katsu deck.
oh, okay.
Mm.
That's
Yeah,
kind of fun.
really own my own cards yet.
So,
And it was supposedly one of the easier ones to play. I didn't Katsu the whole game. Like confused. Kadachi.
so So you said it was like the community, even having that experience at the calling, it was like the community that made you be like, okay, I kind of actually want to keep playing this game, even though I came here and built a warrior prism deck. Yeah. What
Yeah.
what what heroes do you guys play now? Like, what's your? Do you have a? Do you kind of alternate through, or do you have like a main hero for? I'm curious.
I've been on Kano. Uh, Actually, I just won my first armory a couple weeks ago with
Woohoo!
Kano.
Yeah, woohoo!
So that I played a lot of Viscerai was my first love.
Love
Um,
it.
yeah, me and Melody had that in common.
Say, I
Yes.
remember you were on Viscerai when I met you, and I
hmm
was
at that skirmish
at
and
that
at the
skirmish.
calling,
Yeah.
um, at the pro tour in Jersey too. Um, and I had a lot of fun with him, but I kind of once they nerfed him so hard, I was like maybe I should find something a little more able to win more consistently. So I've been playing Kano now, and I love it very much. I think he's great. I love the combo. I love anything with a combo, like anything where you can sort of play and chip and do a little damage and block effectively, and then on one turn you just do 20 damage, and that's always fun to me.
You like the OTK
I
style.
like the OTK. I've been trying
Oh,
to.
love OTK.
I do too. I've been trying to figure out OTK Icelander, which
Yes.
people are telling me is not going to happen, but I have faith. I think there's an OTK build in there.
I think DM Armada did a video on like two different OTK Icelander builds, if I remember.
Really?
I saw his mid-range one. I didn't see a OTK one, but he did have like a big combo in there, but it was seemed really tough to set up, so I don't know.
Yeah. What about yourself, Adrian? What hero do you like to play?
Um, I've always played aggro decks that are sort
Okay.
of easy to pick up, like easier than like Kano to pick up. Started
Good
off with,
stuff.
and played I played Briar and then Starbucks. I've always played like the meta deck.
Hell yeah.
That's what
Yes.
I came in after Everfest and I fell in love with Warrior and I was like, here's my Warrior deck. I built like I had never played CC before and I built a CC Dorinthia deck and I was like, I'm going to this pro quest. I'm going to play in this pro quest. I've never played CC. I've been playing Blitz for like 4 days and I built a CC Dory deck that I was bringing and then I just kind of was like doing research on the other heroes to prepare and I was like, this deck is not going to stand a chance against anything that's happening. And my boyfriend and my friends were like, just play it, just play it. Like, play what you know how to play. Because I had been playing Dory and Blitz for like 4 days. And I was like, this is going to be bad. So when we showed up at the Pro Quest, I said, I'm getting rid of, screw this Dorinthia deck. And I bought a box of Tails and threw together a Starvo deck. And went 3-2 or 2-3. I can't remember. It's been a while. At that first Pro Quest was like the first time I played CC,
Wow.
and with my Starvo. And so then I played Starvo. But by the time he was Living Legend, I was like, I'm so sick of this deck. I can't wait to like. I kept thinking like I kept playing it and being like, finally played my last game on Starvo, and then something else would come up where it was like, oh, we're going to this Pro Quest, or oh, this armory tonight's gonna be CC instead of Blitz, and I was like, I guess we're bringing out Starvo again, but like, he's gone now, and I'm on Briar, so same hero
Oh, you're on
names.
Briar now. Interesting.
I'm on Briar now. I really like her. She's very fun. I like the aggro decks as well. I
Yeah,
just
Briar was the first hero I actually like clicked with, where like I I bought Blitz decks and I was like trying out Prism and Boltum and stuff, and Briar was the first one. I was like, ooh, I get this. This makes sense. This is a
yeah,
fun game.
I liked her. I went to like a charity event for Flesh and Blood, and I was just gonna like watch, so I wasn't planning on playing. And I didn't bring a deck for it anyway. And then everyone was like, I was just going to like donate money and watch and hang out because I had like a thing to go to later that day. And everyone was like, I can't believe you're not actually gonna play. So then the guy who was running it was like, oh, I have an extra deck on me. It's just a budget blitz deck, and it's Briar. And so I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, whatever. Since I already donated the money, I'll just play. So I did play, and I ended up winning the entire charity event with my little budget Briar deck. And that was like
Hell yeah,
a
man.
while ago. So then when Starvo went out, I was like, I kind of want to play Briar. So I threw a deck to bring to Road to Nats this past weekend. And I was like, I had like 3 games on the deck and went 3-2. But this week I've been putting in a lot of work. So hopefully we'll do some more stuff. All right, we are off topic, but the next question that I had for you guys was I'm curious. I like to ask this question because as everyone knows, I have my pre-ritual eat some pickles tournament that brings me good luck. So, do you guys have any tournament rituals, any good luck charms, superstitions, anything like that when you go to tournaments?
Adrienne?
I'm not sure if it's a superstition, but I always seem to do better when I lose my first round. And I do
Okay.
worse
Interesting.
round. Yeah. For big tournaments. So I'm not really sure if that's a superstition or not. Just kind of what's been happening. Oh, I guess there were 2 tournaments I went to where I was wearing a bracelet that my aunt gave me. She said it was like a lucky bracelet, and I like never usually wear jewelry, but I decided to wear it, and then I top aided both of those, so that was cool.
Awesome.
First pro. Oh no, never mind. They were the first pro quest in Australia that I top aided. Here we go.
Oh, that was with Hayden and them, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes. I saw all those posts and I was like, oh my God, Adrienne, there's a woman. She's from New Zealand. Yes, go to Australia and beat them.
Take them down.
So
Take them
you
down.
go into tournaments and like round 1 you're like no blocks, just kill me now. I have to get the good luck for the rest of the tournament.
Lose my first game.
Yeah, lose my first game. You know? What
That's
about
a fun
yourself,
idea.
Brynn?
I don't really have any superstitions, or I should. I guess at every like pro tour, I've always worn the same jacket. But I don't think I'm gonna keep wearing it. um,
At every
because
pro tour, right? You said.
well, I mean like I mean every professional level
like
event,
yeah, large like
skirmish,
scale.
skirmish calling, uh, the the uh, the uprising release in Vegas.
Woohoo.
I always wear that same jacket.
It's
'Cause
a nice
cold.
jacket. I know what jacket you're talking about because I've seen you at these events. It's a nice
Yeah,
jacket.
it's a black denim jacket, and I like it, but it is cold always in those big event rooms. So maybe that'll be my flesh and blood jacket. But otherwise, I'm very scatterbrained, so I don't usually have much of a. I forget things a lot, so I'm like I don't know what I did.
Yeah.
I don't know what to repeat.
Mine's just the pickle thing because of the battle harden. It was now I just
And
eat
now with
pickles.
peanut butter.
That was really good, Melody.
Why,
I don't want to hear.
Elaine? Why?
I
Oh, no.
At big, I'm just now thinking about it, Bryn, because you talked about your jacket at large scale events. I always thought it was like really hot because pro tour
You're Icelander.
yeah, I'm in like cosplay, like a full wig, like this much of my face is like what's visible at these big events.
Yeah.
And then Sunday in Vegas, I wore like a tank top and shorts because I wasn't putting on my cosplay for that day, and I was cold the whole time, and I was like, I always thought it was
Yeah.
hot in here. It's just me.
Vegas is crazy because it's such whiplash. It's freezing inside every place and it's hell outside.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how it is in Louisiana right now, except it costs way too much money to make the building actually cold. Um,
Oh no.
all right, do you guys have any like role models in Flesh and Blood or like any TCG or card games at all?
Role models.
Yeah, like
Mm.
Like I think the best female player in Fab that I know of at the moment. So I think it would be really cool to be even like half as good as Yuki.
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 Yuki Lee Bender.
Yuki.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yuki's cool.
Yuki's really cool. We're recording with Yuki next week. We just
Next.
announced that today. So very excited because Yuki is definitely a role model for me too in this space. She is
Yeah.
she is awesome.
Yeah,
And
Yuki's
Adrian,
cool
just a
because
question.
oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask Adrian, did you know that Yuki has joined a New Zealand competitive team with Jason Lai?
Oh, I know that. Yeah, Jason's been playing with her, but I didn't realize they were in a team together now.
They announced on Twitter, and she's part of a well, I'm assuming it's a Kiwi team because I think he's the captain, and Justin and a few others.
Yeah, I know that team. Oh,
Love
cool.
it.
That's super cool. Yeah, I guess Jason is also someone who I like look up to, and whose opinion on cards I really take seriously. And he's been super nice. Like before Nats, he practiced with me a lot because I actually decided to change decks like a week, or change most of my deck a week before New Zealand Nats, the start of the year. And so Jason played like quite a few games with me, and then organised for Kiki to get me some cards in Wellington, which was like, super nice of both of them as well. So I could play my play my new deck, which probably I shouldn't have switched to. Jason's always been really good at giving advice on the decks that I tried to make in the past. It's really cool. And then playing with me when I don't think it would have benefited him that much because he's got like his own testing team and stuff that he always plays with. So yeah, he's another person I look up to.
Okay, I have a question for both of you guys. What, like, in your Flesh and Blood career so far, what is like your biggest accomplishment to say? And then also, what are any future competitive goals that you have for yourself?
I guess we'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I think in terms of winning, I mean, I've won one armory, and that was pretty good. Actually, I won. I went like 2-1 in the uprising draft in Vegas, and I felt pretty good about that. Even though I really don't like draft, um, I haven't cracked that egg open. I don't really like. I still can't enjoy it. Feels really boring to me. Um, but the armory, winning the armory, I was really proud of. It was really exciting. After playing for almost 6 months, finally winning like a whole thing and getting I got those 3 prism cold foils.
Oh yeah.
It's really cool. Um, but it's interesting because I kind of got into the game to open packs. Like I really enjoy the process of like opening and like collecting, and we're not really collecting, but just like seeing what I can get and trading more than anything. So, pulling a cold foil first edition New Horizons was really fun. Um, and I'd like to just do more of that.
That's pretty. First edition Cold Foil New Horizons is pretty awesome. The
It
great
was really
tool.
cool.
Yeah, I also love cracking packs. I'm like a fiend when it comes to cracking packs. It's like if I am in
Hmm.
my LGS and I hear a pack rip, I'm like, I'm going to find that
Yeah,
person. I'm like,
what are we doing?
who's opening packs without me around here?
Yeah, I also pulled the last stream I did was a cold foil carrion husk, like right before Chain got Living
Oh,
Legend.
Oh,
So I've had some good luck, and I just want to keep that up, I guess.
yeah, that's
But
pretty awesome.
I'd like to continue to try and be good at the game, and I don't know. I don't really have designs on like winning a calling or anything, but it'd be cool. I'm gonna try.
I agree. I'm like, I'm gonna try. I was really right now. I'm like baby steps. Like I'd like to like day two a calling, top eight, the pro quest, those
Yeah.
kind of goals, smaller
Honestly,
mine
goals.
is win an armory. That'd be pretty cool. Great start.
it
You got
feels really
that.
great.
Mm.
Everyone
Mm-hmm.
clapped and stuff. It was great.
Oh,
That reminds me, though, you asked about role models, and there's a guy I know who comes to my local shop named Yanji Lee,
Oh yeah.
and
Yes.
he won calling with Viserai, and he's
What?
just he is like the kindest, most like patient person, and he's just like he sees the matrix of this game, like he's
Yeah.
really he'll just like look at my deck and just be like, you could do this and you could do this and this would make you have 2 more points here, and like he just like, I really respect the way he looks, and he's so chill about the game. He just is sort of like, it's just a game, but if you want to win, this is how you do it, and I really like his approach to it, so I'd say that would be my answer.
Yeah, he's really great.
Super sweet guy.
I think I played against his team at the team sealed event in Ohio, I believe.
Oh, really?
Yes, and he won that event too, I think. Maybe. Um, how about yourself, Adrienne? What are your biggest accomplishments and dreaming big competitive goals?
I guess it's one of my goals to play faster and stop chatting to my opponent so much that I have to rush the game at the end. It's happened like quite a few times.
Mm.
Like happened on the Pro Tour in New Jersey. I actually went to time because my plan was to fatigue this other deck, and it went to time when he had 5 cards left in his deck. Um,
Oh no.
so sad because we've been playing just quite, I suppose, slowly for the first 35, 40 minutes. And I saw the time. I was just like, okay, let's play fast because I'm trying to fatigue you, is what I said. So we did, like super fast, but it still wasn't enough time to finish that game. And then another time, like, I don't know why I did this. It was a Stavo mirror. And then we just like from different we're from different cities. So we um we were just talking about that and like looking at each other's like cold foils and rainbow foils for during the game, which was really stupid. And that one almost went to time, so as well. Um, and yeah, I just want to play faster, I guess, and like take competitive games more seriously. I think is a big part, and like not get distracted by
Mm.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Like can chat after once we finish the game, but not during or before because priority is winning. Um, so yeah, that would be my biggest priority. I went 8-6 at the Pro Tour, but I feel it could have been like I it could have definitely been 9-5 if I just played, for example, the league game a bit faster.
That's awesome, though. Congratulations.
Yes. And I can talk to that because
Good
at the
job.
Rotonets, every time I saw you, you would deepen corridor. Sorry, deepen discussion with your player, and you guys were generally the last ones playing.
Yes, we were
Just, yes.
like one game with Justin. It was about to go to time, so I was like, I'll just concede. It was Jemima. I have to remember Jemima's to me go very long. If I'm playing fire, I don't really mind. I can talk, I suppose, because that won't go.
Mm.
But Jemima is, yeah.
Awesome. All right, let's dig in a little bit more about what it's actually like to be specifically a woman playing
Mm-hmm.
TCGs in a competitive space. I know, Adrienne, you mentioned that like you've been to played in callings, played in a lot of events, been playing for a year now. Brynn, I know you've were at the New Jersey and Vegas because I was there and saw you there. So, are there like any barriers that you felt like you faced or had to overcome as a woman in this space? And this could be anything from like stigmas that just surround women in TCGs, comments that have been made, like being the only woman at an armory or tournament, not being taken seriously, anything.
You go, Adrian.
Okay. Um, I suppose one of the things which can happen at times is when I like I often have a rules question which I ask the judge about just to get clarification. But also often I call a judge in if my opponent doesn't believe when I been like interpreted the rules a certain way. And I maybe it's not because I'm female, but I just have found that a lot. That like people don't believe me when I say that these are how the rules are. I think that's one thing which is less common now, and like obviously, like the vast majority of people don't do that. And I think that that's one. And I guess just like sometimes, oh yes, it was at the start, like at the first Road to Nationals that I played last year. I'd been playing the Dorinthia deck for quite a while, and then I would always get like people, like guys, coming up to me and just giving me advice on how to play.
Oh yeah,
hell
oh
yeah.
yeah.
Of course, you don't know how to play your own deck.
One of the guys, I still make fun of him for it, and I'm sure he didn't mean it this way, but he actually explained to me what an attack reaction was, and I was like,
What?
He's great. I just think he just forgotten for and then another it kind of annoyed me back then, but another guy told me about like this really good Dorinthia combo, which something that everybody knows. And I won my last game with that one, but I was kind of like I sort of appreciate you trying to help, but I also, if I asked you, that'd be perfect, but I didn't. Yeah.
I've had a lot of like that where I've been in like tournaments and I don't. They just assume you don't know, and I'm not saying it is always happens specifically because I'm a woman, but it's like, I'm sitting here. I've been playing. I'm at a calling, so I've like have interest to this game. I traveled many hours to be here, and they're like reading me their cards like without me asking and stuff, or like explaining Phantasm to me, and I'm like, yeah, I had a friend one time. He's like, if she has a question, she'll ask. Stop. And I was like, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's like it's one of those things. Adrienne, have you played other games before, like other TCGs? Oh, this is your first one
no.
too. Okay. I also haven't. So it's sort of, I'm an adult. I'm 35. Like it's sort of interesting to be coming into this new culture as an adult. Because for me, a lot of this stuff kind of translates from the other nerdy male dominated scenes that I was in when I was a kid, like specifically like comics and video games. I've always been into those. And what's hard is that you never really can tell when it's like, am I projecting like that you're kind of uncomfortable, or are you being overly explanatory because of who I am, or is that just who you are? Because I mean, like when I was younger, there was a lot more just like, whoa, a bitch is here, like kind of like, like outward misogyny. But in
Right.
2022, everyone sort of has themselves a little in check. And so I think what's interesting is when you're sort of, you sit down and people are like visibly checking themselves. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a certain level of like one thing I have experienced that I'm pretty sure is a consistent thing is that there are some people who feel much more frustrated losing to me than another guy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
there's like specific people I'm like, this person is not like losing to me, and it's I
yeah.
know exactly what you're talking about because I've talked to
So
like,
do I.
I'll lose and my opponent will be like really upset, and I'll ask like my boyfriend or my other guy friends in the community, I'm like, do they get like very upset and offensive when you beat them? And they're like, no, never. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because some people are just like salty. Like
Yeah.
some people can't control that. Like there's a couple people in my local scene who just like they're very competitive, and no matter what, if they're losing, they like have to go outside and they get very emotional, and that's totally reasonable. I understand it's a very high stress thing.
Yeah.
But there are certain people, nobody specifically really at my local scene, but people I've played with in other places where I'm like, this guy is specifically annoyed that he's losing to me, because internally I think some people just think that we're worse,
Yeah.
and that means they're worse. Do you know what I mean?
I've had
And it's
guys like
like
say
so insulting.
it is so insulting. I've had like, you know, I've talked to guys about this when I started playing, guys that I'm close to who are really great guys, and they're like, yeah, like I'm trying to change my mindset about women in TCGs, because there is like a stigma where they're like, yeah, if I see I'm paired against a girl, I sit down against them, and I'm like, oh, this should be an easy game. Like they're like, it's just sometimes a thought, and I'm like, that's really really awful. And
That's fucking insane.
I know
Mm.
it's so, yeah, sometimes it can be easier than it should be to walk into an LGS and like not feel the most welcome as a woman in the space. I've actually been to like a few tournaments where there was no like women's bathroom, and I'm like, hi guys.
Like the one in the weekend.
Yeah, I'm
I've
like,
I've never run into that in this scene, but I'm in a band. I've been in bands my whole life, but
awesome.
that has happened in venues.
Yeah,
I'm just like, what?
I feel
Where
like
is the toilet?
these are things that like I'll bring up to like my guy friends and my boyfriend, and they're like, what, like what are you I've never even thought of like having an issue of being like, there's no toilet for me to use because it's labeled, oh, women's. And I'm like, no, if there's only one
That's because they
Yeah.
never
bathroom.
have the problem,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It's like
No.
this, there's some things like that just don't even cross the mind of men, that like women have to actually consider when going to these events. And also, if you only have one bathroom, just label it toilet, not men's, because
Yeah,
it's
weird.
like weird. Why would you do that? Like,
I think there should also be just a bathroom called toilet as well, because like not everybody is.
Identifies
yeah,
as male and female.
identifies as either. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
identifies as either male or female. That's a very good point.
Yeah, I think and I think there's also, I mean, one thing that's mildly irritating, not irritating, but it's notable to me, is that there's also a bit of an over uh correction where like people will just like sit down and be like, "Wow, cool to see a lady." And it's like it's not, I like the intention is nice, but it's like,
Mm.
okay, now I'm like called out. I don't know, it feels weird sometimes, just like I know that I'm a minority in this situation.
Yeah,
I don't know. That can be, I like, it would be weird if I was like, you don't say that to other minorities. I'm like,
right.
cool to see a Mexican person. It's like,
I
whoa.
do. I'm like, oh my, if I
Possibility.
see Māori people, I'm like, there's another Māori
Oh,
here.
That's fair, but you're, yeah.
well, yeah, but you're a Maldi, so yeah. No, I definitely. It's like one of those weird things where it's like I'm not mad at
Yeah,
that
no, it's not
comment,
mad.
because it's like it's just kind of like different. Like one tournament I went to, like me and the guys I went with, because I'm on a competitive team and I'm
Oh,
the only
cool.
woman on that team. So when I travel to tournaments, it's me and the guys who I love very much, all of them. But so I'm like, all right. I always like talk to them about interactions I had at tournaments to see if they had kind of the same experience, because I never want to assume like people are getting mad or like talking to me a certain way just because I'm a woman. But then I'll be like, did you have this experience? They're like, no. And I'm like, okay, then I can be a little mad about it. But one time we were talking and I was like, I went through a tournament and I was the only woman there, and this was one of the situations where there was like no bathroom for me, so I was feeling pretty ostracized that day as a woman in the space. And I was like, almost every game I had, I've talked to my opponent afterwards, and they all would ask, how did you get into Flesh and Blood, which is a normal common question, that I love to answer and chat about how I got into the game. Doesn't offend me at all. But I was talking to my teammates about it afterwards, and they were like, no one's ever asked me how I've gotten into Flesh and Blood. They ask like, how
Oh,
do you play?
wow.
And it's like one of those
Interesting.
things where it's like, people, I understand that you're just kind of curious, like, what is a woman doing here? Like, what is attracting women to the game? Like, I understand it's like out of curiosity, and I'm not mad about the question. I just think it's like an interesting difference to point out, where it's like my male friends are being asked, how long have you been playing? Where I'm always being asked, how did you get into the game? Like,
Yeah, I've never thought about that because everyone
No.
asks me that.
right.
Like literally, like half of the people I've played at callings or whatever are like, so how'd you get into the game? And I assumed that's like
I
what
assumed
you
it was
say.
like what
I've
you said.
never been asked that question.
Yeah.
Really?
No.
My guy friends were like, no one's ever asked me like, how did I get into the game? They're always like, how long have you been playing? Which is usually what I ask people. I'm always like, how long have you been playing? And then sometimes I'll ask, like, depending on where the conversation goes from there, like, how do you get into the game? But usually I find that's the opening question. It's like, what are you doing here, basically? What brought you here?
Weird.
It's just weird.
I've
Weird.
definitely had the how long have you been I get asked a lot, how long have you been playing?
Hmm.
But I've never been asked, how did you get in? Only in interviews. People ask, how did you get
Only
into
on
the game? But
podcasts, right?
clearly nobody cares about me, but that's cool. That's cool. What
Now
about you,
everyone likes you,
Adrienne? Have you
Melody.
been asked those questions?
Yep, yeah, I've been asked a few times how I got into the game. I also thought everybody got asked that.
Yeah,
Mm.
right. But I think that Elaine might be right.
Yeah, I
Yeah, no,
mean, it's a small
Adrian,
sample, just like me and my guy friends, but it's like something that we've noticed traveling to tournaments is
Mm.
like, I'm the only one consistently getting asked all the time, like, how did you get into the game? What brought you here, ma'am? What are you doing here?
How
Us,
did you find your way to this establishment?
I would say, I don't
Mm.
know. I also like, I like to dress pretty conventionally, like, girly. Like, I wear like dresses and skirts, and so I don't know, that has something where they're like, you don't look like you belong here half the time, or
Hmm.
like, I've
I
also
feel like
like,
it's curiosity, right?
yeah,
Like,
I
I
feel
don't
like
think
it's curiosity.
intentionally, it's like, oh, how did you get into it? Like,
I've also had the experience because now we have jerseys, so it's pretty obvious I'm a part of the team. But before we had jerseys,
mm,
or if there's ever an event where we don't wear the jerseys for some reason, like when we walk in, like sometimes, and I'm not calling anyone out, but sometimes the LGS will just like be like, "Hey, are y'all registered? Here's your deck list," and like not give a deck sheet paper to me, like assume I'm just
Yeah.
there as like moral
what?
support, not
Has
playing.
that happened? Has that happened more than once?
That's happened.
No.
Yeah, that's happened more than once. Where I'm like,
Jesus.
"Hey, I also I also need to pay and receive a deck."
And I'm playing in this
Yeah,
tournament.
no, yeah, like,
Damn.
I have a question for you, Elaine.
yeah.
So when you're wearing your team shirt, clearly you're part of a team, so you're obviously valued, right? When you are sitting across from people, are you still getting these questions? Even, like, obviously you're in a team because you're pretty good. And if people are going, oh, this is how you play your deck, or, are you getting those kinds of questions still?
No, it's definitely like less when I've had it happen like one or two times when I'm in my team jersey, but when I'm not in my team jersey, like, yeah, I get these comments a lot more. The team jerseys help. I often forget to put them on, and then my team is like, "Where's your jersey?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you're right. I have to go change my entire
You
outfit."
need to represent, Elaine.
I
Put it
know.
on.
I forget. I love my team, but I always get up and I'm like, get dressed. But yeah, no, it happens a lot more when I'm not wearing the jersey. Like when I'm wearing the jersey, I walk in with the team. People obviously think that I'm there playing. But when I'm not, it's happened more than once where people weren't. And one time, my boyfriend was being interviewed because he had just lost out in the top 8. And they were like pulling players to be interviewed. And I was just standing there watching him being interviewed. And the interviewer was like, "Oh, like after the interview ended, he was like, 'Oh, cool. Is this your girlfriend?' And my boyfriend was like, 'Yeah, that's my girlfriend.' He was like, 'Oh, like so nice of you to come around, like come spend
Oh,
your day
no.
here for support.'" And I was
No,
like,
he didn't.
I actually am a player. I was here to play also.
All these assumptions.
I know all the assumptions that just
Mm.
assume we not there for the
Yeah,
same
that's
reasons
So
as men.
we've talked about like the barriers. What are the highs though? You know, what's the cool stuff that's been going on for you guys playing in the spaces?
I mean, I think Flesh and Blood is like, it's hard. You've got thousands of people playing this game at this point, and so there's always going to be general waves like this, but I feel like Flesh and Blood as a community has been pretty surprisingly uh aware and like trying to make it a welcoming space.
Oh yeah.
I've definitely felt
Yes.
I definitely felt on the whole, especially in my like local game store, like people are very are much more on the too excited to bring diversity in than like a negative way. It's like it's a little, if there's a complaint it could be like sometimes feel tokenizing or whatever, but like I think they're I think the community as a whole has been very much like, let's get women in, like, spotlight people of color and women, and like make it a diverse group because we're just starting. It feels like it's only been what, 2 years,
Mm.
Yeah.
so it feels like there's a fertile ground to be like, let's get different kinds of people in positions of popularity and I don't know, not power exactly, but like, accepting and spotlighting people who come from different backgrounds and play the game in different ways.
I
So I think
definitely
it's pretty cool.
I definitely agree the community's been really great overall. I point these things out. And I also think part of the reason might be because I live in the very, very deep South Louisiana. Could have
Mm.
something to do with it. But the Flesh and Blood community as a whole is amazing. And Flesh and Blood Twitter is like one of the most wholesome places I've ever
That is
been on
incredible.
for social media. Like
I know.
I'm like everyone in here is fantastic and I love them all.
I have my personal Twitter is like, I've been doing like a political podcast for years,
Okay.
and that's just like I have a couple thousand followers, and it's just like stress. It's just like you only go on there to like to get stressed out. And it's so it's like Twitter to me is just like being annoyed all day. But then when I got on Flesh and Blood Twitter, I just like completely only look at that now because it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
it's people being nice to each other and enjoying something together, and that's it. Like, and then if there is like drama, it's usually pretty funny, and like,
Yeah.
like the shredding
The
that
tunic
happens.
gate.
Tunic Gate, which is like everybody in Flesh and Blood was like, cool, normal, that's great,
Mm.
thanks. And then like everyone else who doesn't play the game was like, what?
What?
So it's just us laughing at people who don't understand.
It was a painful video to watch. I'm not gonna say I watched it more than once because it made me sad, but it didn't make me mad. I was like, thank you, I appreciate the sentiment, but please don't show
Yeah.
it to me again.
Have you seen the video, Adrienne?
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, Flesh and Blood Twitter's like the only social media I go on now, actually.
It's really the only one worth going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tap into Facebook sometimes, but then I tap out very quickly.
Very quickly. It's like my
Yeah.
other socials. It's like in the morning while I'm drinking my tea. I like scroll through, check the notifications, and then it's like close it out. Not getting back on there today. Flesh.
Dip.
Yep, dip.
And are there any highs for you, Adrienne, in the game?
Oh, it's the same for me. Like the community been lovely, been really welcoming. Um, in Auckland and Wellington and Tauranga, which is where I've played the most games, I suppose. And I've just made so many friends through it as well. And during lockdown last year, when I was living very rurally and didn't know anybody before I actually moved to that town for 6 months, like Flesh and Blood was just how I spent my extra time. And it was just really good having something to do. And at that point, we were playing a lot on TTS. So I think I was in a two-person team with my friend Justin at the time. We would literally play for like 2 hours a day, most days.
Awesome.
And so that was just like nice to go home and actually have something to look forward to. So that was really cool. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, one more question before we move on to some community questions. And that is just for both of you guys. Are there any changes that you would like to see in the Flesh and Blood community in general, or specifically like attitude towards woman as a woman?
Changes.
Yeah, changes. Or
I mean, I think you guys are leading the charge on content creators. Like a lot, like I watch a lot of Flesh and Blood content. Me and my boyfriend love to watch all the box openings and set reviews and all that stuff, but it's all white dudes. Like I love all those guys. I love DM Armada. I love Flake. I love Fluke. I love I like all those guys. But it'd be really nice if there was people who were of different backgrounds as well. I think that would be really cool to see opening stuff. But we're all trying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thank you. That's like part of the reason Melody and I started this. I did not ever picture myself to be a content creator in any shape or form throughout any walks stages of life. And then I got into Flesh and Blood, and I was consuming a lot of Flesh and Blood content. And I love all the Flesh and Blood content I consume, but I was like, there's no women.
There's no woman.
There's no like woman podcast
woman.
in this game, and I would like to listen to one.
Yeah.
So then we just started one instead. But
I'd also say judges. I know judges are sort of like on the scant side. It seems like there's not a lot of them in general, but there's a couple, lady judges. But I think it just because like everything we talked about in terms of like trusting women about rules, Adrienne was saying, like in terms of trusting, just sort of having like internal biases and stuff. Like I think it'd probably be really helpful to make sure there's maybe at least a proportionate amount on a judge team.
I agree.
Of different people.
I have a friend who is a judge. He is not a woman, he is a male, but I've like talked to him about this before because he's like said like some of his at events he's had to and not just specifically Flesh and Blood. I think it's less of a problem in Flesh and Blood so far, but in other TCGs too, because he's judged other TCGs. He's had to like, there's been times where one of his judge co-workers, I guess, I don't know,
fellow judges.
Yes, fellow judges who's a female will like make a calling, and the players will like call over like a male judge to,
Want
like,
a second opinion.
Yeah, want like a second opinion. He's like, it only happens to the female judges, and I'm like,
that's crazy.
Come on, guys, like.
Of course, and that stuff is hard to imagine how to fix exactly, but because players are players, but I think just having.
I think that's where we start, right? They're the core. The players are the core.
Education. It's what we're trying to do out here. Just because also people who like are not a problem in the community, as like aren't always aware that some of these things are going on. So it's just kind of like education. People awareness can be aware that like sometimes there are these instances of just like misogyny happening that we can just call out and talk about, and hopefully it'll help. What about yourself, Adrienne? Got anything to add?
Oh, I've passed the judge quiz last year, but
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
nice.
Congratulations!
Yes.
I've been afraid of like that happening to me if I end up judging an event as well. But also I feel like I don't want to judge. Like I'm happy to judge a small event, but like a big one, I would feel like it would be a lot of pressure, and I think I would get annoyed if there was like a clear like simple rule that people didn't trust me on. Because if I'm unsure about something, I would always ask. But if I'm sure about something, usually it's correct.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sounds like you know the rules
I'll
pretty
say,
good.
you could say,
Hmm.
if I know something, I know something.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia's judge actually. She's one of the players in that so it'll be cool to hear like, what her experiences have been judging events. She knows the rules.
Oh, is Georgia a judge?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, what's her name?
Georgia. She's like an Icelander main.
Georgia.
Oh, cool.
She's a very good player too. She knows her shit. Like she knows her shit, so that's not surprising. But
All right. Okay, community questions. The first one we
shall we go
have.
question for question?
Yeah. You want to start, or you want me?
Use that.
Okay. Rise Robin is as our first question, and that is one. What is one thing you are most excited for in the future of Flesh and Blood, be it a possible new hero or class, an event, a cosplay, or a deck? We'll start with you, Brynn. Go ahead.
PvP or PvE.
Me
I'm
too.
I'm like the amount like the amount of ideas that like me and my LGS friends like get high and talk about the concept of like what PvE could be, and like the hints that James White is like given about it. That's like I mean I like the competitive aspect of it, but like competitive PvE or like organized PvE is like I think I'm going to be way more into. And also, it's like I have a lot of friends who would love to get into Flesh and Blood, but like want it to be more collaborative and less like direct competitive.
Yeah.
And I've had friends literally be like, I wish it was could be more like hanging out rather than like one on one. And I think having whatever it's going to be, I'm really excited for. That's definitely number one, the thing I'm most excited for.
I agree. I'm so excited. When they announced that, I was like, "Oh my gosh, yes, please!" Because I love PVE games, and my brothers, who I've been trying to get into the game, and they like the heroes and the concept, but not really TCGs, and they're like big D&D players and stuff. I was like, "Guys,
Yeah.
there's a PVE version coming out." And they're like, "Let us know, we're in." I'm excited. All right, Adrienne.
Um, I would really like there to be an Ice Guardian again.
Another like.
Another Oldham.
Another Oldham.
Do you play Oldham?
No, no. It's just because back when the ice shields were like going for 200 New Zealand, I saw them for 150, and I bought like 5.
Oh, so you're just like,
Wow.
I need to
So
sell
you want to
these.
make money?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Hell yeah.
The Oldhams already have ice shields, so it'd be nice if there was like a fresh new Ice Guardian, so people could.
So people would need more stalagmite.
Yeah, actually, one of the first, well, I think the first time I got annoyed my with my boyfriend is when he showed up with like an ice shield one day, and I knew he didn't have one before, and I was like, oh, where'd you get that? And he was like, oh, I bought it off Fab Trading Alley, and I was like, you bought it, you bought an ice shield in 1 hour. He was like, because they're selling it for 120, and I know you bought yours for 150, and I was like, yes, I have 5. Could have lent you one or something.
Oh my god.
Rude.
That's so funny.
That was
Right. That's hilarious.
This is a question from Mara from Blackwing Studio. This is for you, Brynn. She wants to know if you have more plans for your channel, your Flesh and Blood channel, and what ideas do you have to see your channel grow, and do you have any plans?
So I started a channel, myself, mostly because, like I said, I got into the game because I liked the pack openings, and
Yes.
I wanted to see more of that. And no one, there's more people doing it now, DM Armada, especially Fluke, but they kind of, there's not the sort of performative, like fun, like it's not specifically about that usually. So I wanted to do a channel that was mostly about pack openings. Chris Sayers does that. He's really good at it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to, be the change at the time. And so I started one. It is difficult to do so if people don't buy from you. But I'm also not like a big, I'm not the kind of content creator that is like really interested in like selling myself. Like, I like doing it for fun. Like,
Mm.
if I don't have a box to open, then they're not going to be content for a while. I don't, I think the way to do it, if you want to do it as professionally or, you know, uh, at least grow your audience, is like make sure you're doing stuff consistently multiple times a week and like do it like a job. But I have too many things going on. It's just for fun for me.
Mm.
Um, but I'm trying to do I've actually recorded quite a few. I'm going to read the whole lore book. Um,
That's pretty
a-
cool.
Oh,
and
like
and
Paranine, but
like Paranine.
with a woman doing it.
Well, but I'm not just gonna read it. I'm gonna like sort of comment on it. So it's like we're gonna do like 10-minute episodes of just like reading it and then stopping and like talking about it and like what it could mean and like what it means, how it affects everything else. Because Paranine just like straight up read it like an
Yes.
audiobook, which is cool.
Yeah.
But I wanted to like sort of break it down into like how does this affect the other worlds and how does it like what are they
Oh,
saying
that's
about the characters and
cool.
stuff. So we've got like 5 episodes in the bag, but I'm gonna wait till we have like 10 or 20 before I start putting them out. Um,
I
and
love
then
that.
yeah, that, and then I also I've got some like foreign history packs I'm gonna open soon. So
Oh, that's exciting.
Oh, how
That's
did you get
exciting.
those?
I can't tell you.
Oh,
uh,
I've been online. I'm like, how do I order them from France? Don't know how to do it.
yeah, I had a friend who imported them, and so he sold me some. So I'm gonna open those soon. But yeah, just I'm gonna try and get people eventually. Hopefully, when people see the videos and know it exists, they'll buy some boxes from me. Because you can buy boxes from me, and I'll send them to you. But we'll see.
All right.
Cool.
So those are my designs.
Love it.
Just be casual and do a fun lore thing too.
That lore thing sounds like a good idea. I haven't seen much of that. Okay, so that was a question for Bryn, and now we have a question for Adrienne from Fab Ed Chan. It says, "How did Adrienne find the competition when she was in Sydney and competing in the ProQuest?" So,
Oh, I thought it was like super fun, and everyone was really nice, and talked to me, and I don't think I'd ever met any of them before. They were all super lovely, um, and it was nice to see like a diverse meta. Like there was a Dorinthia player, Rhina player, Dash player, that diverse. That was super cool.
yeah, it's always interesting to travel to different places and see how the meta like differs from your own meta.
Mm.
I felt that when I went to New York and when I go to Texas and Alabama for ProQuest and stuff, it's always different. Did you find it like more or less competitive than your local scene
I live in Auckland,
or okay.
so it did feel a lot more chill and
Yeah.
relaxed.
She said
Which,
No,
I've
no, but
got
weren't you
that.
playing with like Hayden and
mm,
Paul and John, like Fluke and Tall Timmy and and Yahtzee, like all the top players were in that, weren't they?
Yeah, and they were all
And
super
it
chill.
still felt chill compared to Auckland. Okay, that says a lot.
Okay, yeah, I'm like, all right.
Yeah, they're all really nice.
Mm. Okay.
Okay. So M Shredder, he always asks a bunch of questions for us. So
Yes.
we're gonna do two. I'll ask one, and Melody will ask one, and we'll just go for it. So the question I picked from him is, if you had to order food to feed an entire calling that represented you, what would you pick and why? Mine would be pickles. I feel like that's very
Of
obvious.
course it would
But
be
what,
pickles.
but
Yeah.
what would you guys?
Um,
Adrienne?
well, I think recently when I've been going to a lot of armories, um, the food that has become a big part of my life, 2-minute noodles. So,
Ooh, solid.
Ooh.
because I'm always like rushing out the door trying to eat something before I go to these armories. Um, and I've recently branched out and tried different types of noodles, like ones like Japanese ones. I can't actually read what's on it. It's really good.
Awesome.
So
I love
2-minute noodles
noodles.
in the world.
I would be happy if I showed up to a calling and they were like, "Here, have some noodles." I'd take that. So
Mm. What about you,
Uh,
Bryn?
I mean, my favorite food doesn't really serve well. Like you can't just like give people steak and mashed potatoes. uh, so I don't. I would feel like I would just order like a whole calling, like 100 burgers. I think I
yeah,
like a good.
Yum.
I've been really into burgers recently. Really nice ones that you can customize, like a burger buffet.
like a burger buffet. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I also would not be mad about that if I went
you
to
gotta.
a calling and they had a burger buffet. Sure.
All I put on a burger for me personally is ketchup, mayonnaise, and pickles.
Pickles. I'm in.
Oh no.
Nothing else.
And peanut butter.
No peanut butter.
Oh, okay, good. Good. And so I've got another question from Michael as well. So both of you, what is your pet card? Like one card that you instantly want to run, you want to play in every single deck, and why do you like playing it? Any card. Pick a
I
card,
like
any card.
below. I always try to fit it in, and even at my super aggro deck.
Sink below?
That's a
Yeah,
good one.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm, versatile.
Blocks and helps you fix your hand. It's a good one.
yes, like a 4 for 0
Yep.
usually, which is a good rate, and it can fix your hand.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's a good point.
Is
Trying to think of a non-boring answer. Because, like, I run skull cap and everything most of the time, except for
That's your
Kano.
go-to card, so it doesn't matter.
So,
Skullcap's great.
yeah.
Yep.
I also
What do you think of
love.
the new crown in
I don't get.
comparison?
I don't get it. I mean, I get why it's like good, like it's like
I
nice.
didn't get it, but I threw it in
Decide.
my Briar deck, and I really have liked it. It's gotten me out of a few brick hands. I'm liking it.
Yeah. I haven't actually played with it. I don't have one. I have every legendary and uprising except that one.
Yeah. Briar,
Um,
like Briar, the biggest thing is like sometimes you just run into those all non-attack action hands, and so it's like, okay, I can block with crown, put this, and then sometimes you just draw up into like what you need, like a snatch or swarming gloomveil, ravenous rabble, and it's like, okay, well now I feel like I can do a good bit of damage on my turn rather than just doing nothing. Um, so it's kind of it's
yeah.
been good at least in that deck. I haven't tried it in anything else yet, but I've been enjoying it in the Briar.
hmm Yeah. One thing I've been playing Kano. I've been every time I see an energy potion, it's like yes, like energy pots are so
Epod.
good in Kano, and I think I like them in other things too. I played a Viscerai deck that had some energy potions in it, and it was like really helpful. So I like low key love energy potions.
Uh, I like epods too. Um, That's a good card. It's so simple. Solid answers. All right.
Yeah.
Last question, which is not from any listeners. It is from Melody and I. We are going to start asking all of our guests this at the end of the pod. Is there any topics or content that you would like to see covered on the Pitch Perfect pod in the future?
I actually can't wait for the next episode with Yuki. Well, I watched the first episode that he did.
Yeah, Yuki episode is gonna be cool. I love Yuki because she's such a champion for underrated heroes. You know, like she was on Lexi so early before anyone else was, and just like crushing stuff with it. And I feel like that's not me. Like I don't really care about being underrated, but I know so many people like love to like their whole thing about playing is taking something that's sort of unfound and then making it good.
Yeah.
And
Olivia.
yeah. There's certain
Yeah.
people who are just like, I'm gonna make Levia good, or I'm gonna make, you know,
Azalea?
Cavdine, I guess. As if
Cav. I'm gonna
Captain,
make
yeah,
Cav
Captain.
Dean good.
I'm gonna make Cavdine good. That's all. Let's see, what a topic that you should do. Have you done a lore episode?
We have not done a lore episode.
I think
have not.
I think there's a lot of stuff to do. It's like this game has done so much work
Yeah.
to like set up a really expansive world that is just so overwhelming for a lot of people, and you have to like sort of do something that isn't play the game to find out about it. And so a lot of people haven't really done it, which is why I'm doing that series. And it's really interesting. I've never really seen a game do that, where it's like there's all this stuff that's sort of ancillary to the game, but it's also you could find a lot of cool nuggets in there.
They put a lot
Lore
of
is
work into it. Like a lot of the cards, as probably not the comments and stuff, but like the art, like well, pretty much yeah. I guess all the art behind the cards like they play into the lore, which I think is really cool. So like once you start learning it, it's cool to like start noticing those things in the art.
Yeah, it's so fascinating that like Valda was in the first set,
Yeah.
and then
Yes.
Yeah.
6 sets later gets released as a hero.
Yeah.
Incredible. Well, who
Oh,
does
we're
that?
going to see everyone, every single person that are in those cards. They're going
I
to be
know.
released at some stage.
They like
Cool.
they've set this stage that like anything you see in a card art can be a hero or a weapon, or it's really cool.
Or a boss in
there's
PvE.
a pink-haired warrior. I think it's Valiant Thrust. She's like thrusting.
Yes.
She's got pink hair. I'm like, if this comes out as a hero, a pink-haired warrior, it's
Warrior.
over. It's over. Yeah.
I want to
okay.
see that illusionist who is in Billowing Mirage.
Yes.
Yes.
That'd
There's
be cool.
all those illusionists, and they're part of a Reese. Was it Reese who did some research on it?
Probably.
We can cut this out because I'm going to totally forget what it is. But there's some beautiful illusionists. I cannot wait to see them. And they've all got staffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fractal replication illusionist lady
Yep.
is so cool. Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. All right. Well, that is all we have for you guys this week. Thank you for joining us, both Adrienne and Brynn, and also anyone who is listening. Thank you for listening this week. We can start with Brynn. If you want to go ahead, plug yourself, tell everyone where they can find you on your socials and
Thanks so much for having me. My name is Brynn Niebuhr. My Twitter is at Banished Zone. And I have a link tree on my bio. I have a YouTube called Banished Zone. And that's all. And I also have a band, if you want to listen to it. It's called Stay Inside.
I do want to listen to it.
It's fun. We just released an EP.
Really?
Awesome.
Are you a lead singer?
I'm not
what
the
is
lead
your
singer.
position?
I'm
Yeah.
I'm the bassist, and I also sing and I write a lot of the lyrics too. So
Karaoke right there. Hell yeah.
Yes.
it's fun. I mean, it's a little dark if you it's rock music, but it's fun. I also have a movie podcast if you're interested called Generation
You are
Lost.
so busy.
I know.
And a politics podcast. Oh my goodness.
I do. That was sort of silly. Yeah. So you can find all that stuff at my Twitter. Just DM me if you want to hear anything else. I do a lot of stuff.
Awesome.
Podcast.
What was
What'd you
that?
say, Adrian?
Politics one called again?
Oh, I didn't mention it. That one I'm less and less on, but it is called Beep Beep Lettuce. Uh, it's sort of a stupid comedy meme politics show. So buyer beware on that one.
How about yourself, Adrienne? Where can people find you? Anywhere?
Oh, at all of the Auckland armories, I would write.
I love it.
That is usually where I am in my spare time.
Awesome.
But I'm actually not on social media that much. Like
Good for
have-
you.
Yeah, good job.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here again. I appreciate you taking some time out of your Monday. I keep thinking it's Monday because it's not Monday. Wednesday. Thank you for taking time out of your Wednesday, Brynn, and thank you for waking up early on a Thursday and joining us, Adrienne. We appreciate it. But yeah, awesome. Thank you
Thanks
guys.
for coming, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for having us.
Bye.